Dishonored is one of those games everyone knows something about. And the same was for me. I knew a lot about it, but then I played it for this video and I realized why people love it so much. So today, even though the game is 11 years old, we'll be taking a look at the story of Dishonored. I played the remastered version, not the old one. Enjoy watching. The game starts with our character Corvo Atano returning from a voyage. We learn that he is the royal protector of Empress Jessamine Coldwin and her daughter Emily. She is the empress of an empire called the Empire of the Isles. Yes, I know, very original name. Corvo was sent around the Isles to try and find a cure for an ongoing plague that affects the empire's capital, Dunwall. We learn all this from a 30-second cutscene at the beginning of the game, and I find this really good because the developers give us the bare minimum to understand the world and the situation the game takes place in, then send us right in the action to really discover the story they created for us. We go to meet the Empress, and on the way we meet her daughter Emily. Corvo and Emily's relationship is very special because he is in fact her father. This isn't revealed in this game, but I think this detail is fairly clear because from his actions towards her, in this game you can pretty much tell Corvo loves her, and not only because he's her royal protector. But Emily doesn't know this yet. Before we meet the Empress, we can also see High Overseer Campbell and Anton Sokolov. The Overseers are a militant religious group, but we'll get to them shortly, and Sokolov is one of the most intelligent people in the Empire. He created many of the steampunk technologies seen in the game. He also created the serum we'll use throughout the game to heal ourselves. When we get to Jessamine, she's talking with the royal spy master Hiriam Barrows. When he sees us, he tells us that we came earlier than expected, which now might not be seen as an important detail, but we quickly realize it is because some assassins come to kill the queen. And they succeed. They also kidnap Emily, and we get framed for her murder, and we get arrested. 6 months pass and we are awaiting execution in prison. The spy master, who is now Lord Regent of the Empire, and the High Overseer come to talk to us. They reveal that they killed the Empress to gain power and will use us as their scapegoat. And now we can see what that line where the spy master tells us we came early means. Our presence with the Empress could have stopped his plan, but in the end it all worked out for him. While we are in the cell, a guard comes to give us something to eat, and he tells us that the food is from a friend. We eat and we find a key inside and instructions what to do next. We use the key to escape our cell, then get out of prison. This escape sequence serves as the tutorial for the game because we learn the basic mechanics for the stealth, because yes, this game puts emphasis on stealth, and how stealthy and non-lethal you are during the game actually impacts the ending. When we get out of prison, Samuel the boatman comes to pick us up and takes us to a conspirative house that a group of royalists use as their hideout. Samuel is my favorite character in the game by a lot. He doesn't have an important function in the government or in the army like the other conspirators we are about to meet, but he is just a simple man. He represents the common people of the Empire that love their queen and don't want to live under the tyranny of the Lord Regent. The men that lead this conspiracy are Lord Pendleton and Admiral Havelock. They refer to themselves as true servants of the Empire, and they slowly built a coalition of loyalists in the past 6 months. The conspirative house that they use is a pub called the Hound's Pit. They tell us that their goal is to kill the Lord Regent and crown Emily as the new Empress. After this, we meet Piero. He is a genius that will basically serve as our upgrade bench and merchant for upgrades. He also crafts us this assassin mask because, well, we have to look creepy when we deliver justice to our enemies, I guess. But after this, we go to sleep and we have a dream where this man shows up. He's the Outsider. The Outsider is sort of a god in this universe. He is the source of the magic that exists in the world, and many people worship him. Remember when I mentioned the Overseers are a religious group? Well, they are oppressing everyone that worships the Outsider. He is one of those mysterious characters in gaming that are created for the purpose of being mysterious. And I always felt that when people try and understand who characters like the G-Man or Gunter O'Dim are, they are missing the purpose of their inclusion in the game. And I feel it's the same way with the Outsider. We shouldn't think too much about who he is, but think about what he represents. In this game he is neither good or evil, he simply is. But anyway, we got off the tracks. he gives Corvo the ability to use magic. He also gives him this heart that will show nearby runes and bone charms that are used to upgrade and gain new abilities. He also marks us to be able to use magic. We wake up and we get our first task: kill High Overseer Campbell. Alright, I'm aware of the fact that I talked quite a lot up until this point, and many of you probably clicked off, but things are about to get more interesting from this point onward, because we now have access to the full potential of Dishonored's combat, which is the most known thing about this game. Samuel will get us as close as possible to the High Overseer, but before we leave, Callista, who is one of the way too many maids we can see at the Hound's Pit, asks us for a favor. She learned that her uncle, who is an overseer, is gonna get poisoned by Campbell himself, and we can use this to our advantage. She asks us to save him because he is a good man or something, but that's irrelevant. Samuel gets us somewhat close to Campbell, and we have to sneak our way through guards and security checkpoints to get to him. The game very clearly says that there is no right or wrong way to get him, because there are multiple ways to sneak around. Use the roofs, use the sewers, use everything you can to get the job done. And this, I feel, brings a level of replayability to the game, because you can do assassinations in multiple ways. But, as I said before, how many people you kill impacts the ending of the game, because every level appraises how stealthy you were by judging how much chaos you created while playing it. This includes how many times you were detected, how many enemies you killed, and so on. And many times if I was detected, I would just reload a save, and I did this a lot, so that's something to keep in mind. Anyway, we sneak our way to Campbell's office, and we swap the poison drinks he had ready for Callista's uncle, and he dies. We take his personal journal because the loyalists believe it contains Emily's location. We also saved an overseer called Martin that was loyal to us that Campbell captured. The journal that we retrieved did indeed contain Emily's location, and she is in a place called the Golden Cat Inn. But there is a problem. Remember Lord Pendleton? Well, we have to kill his brothers, because they have a lot of votes in the parliament, votes that we need if we are to crown Emily as Empress. Fortunately, Lord Pendleton doesn't have a big problem to kill his own brothers, so we can move on with our plan. We go to the Golden Cat, we kill the Pendletons, and we rescue Emily. But before we go, Havelock asks us to check the sewers beneath the pub, because the servants heard a weeper down there. The weepers are individuals that are in a very late stage of the plague infection. They also let killer flies out of their mouths if you get too close. After we deal with them, Samuel takes us as close as he can to the Golden Cat. And during this time in the city we can see how the assassination of Campbell affected the world, because now there are more guards and security checkpoints around. Luckily, we meet a local thug called Slackjaw. He offers to take out the Pendleton brothers without killing them in exchange for a favor. He wants us to force an art dealer to give up the code for a safe with precious art that he owns. Luckily, this dealer has a weird fetish that I won't go into, and he gives up the code. Slackjaw thanks us and says that he will take care of the brothers. How? Well, the Pendletons own a mine that uses slaves and will cut off their tongues and force them to work in their own mine, which is arguably a worse fate than death, but our Lord Pendleton later thanks us for not killing them, so I guess it's not. After we deal with the brothers, we sneak in the Golden Cat, we find Emily, and we get out of there. With the High Overseer dead and Emily back in our hands, it's time to strike at the Lord Regent. To do this, we must cut his financial and political support, and his most important supporter is his mistress. The problem is no one knows who she is. But Havelock and Pendleton learn that Sokolov, the scientist we met at the beginning, painted a portrait of her, so we have to kidnap him to learn who she is. So you already know the drill. We sneak past guards until we reach his lab. In there we can see he is trying to find a cure for the plague, but we knock him out and take him to the Hound's Pit. After we persuade him to tell us who she is, he finally cracks and tells that even though he doesn't know what she looks like because he painted her from behind, he knows she is called Lady Boyle. The problem is that there are 3 Lady Boyles. Luckily, the Boyles are organizing a ball, so Corvo goes there to find out who she is. And this level revolves more around finding clues than sneaking around. In the end, we learn the identity of the Lord Regent's mistress and we kill her. Seeing that everybody around him is dying at the hands of Corvo, the Lord Regent locks himself in the palace of the former queen, thinking he would be safe there. And because of that, this is the best place to kill him. The palace level is really impressive. It's the biggest one so far and the most complex. There are a lot of guards, but there are also a lot of ways to get our tasks done. And this is exactly what we do. We kill the Lord Regent. We go back to the Hound's Pit, but we can't celebrate because in the twist of the game, Havelock poisons us. To be honest, this wasn't too big of a twist, because throughout the whole game, I remember that I kept thinking that they were going to betray us, and after we killed the Regent, it was just very obvious it was going to happen, and to be honest, it was a pretty big letdown. But of course, we live, because Samuel was the one who poisoned us, but he only gave us half the poison because he was being watched. So that means we don't have to kill him, which is a big relief. But the reason they poisoned us? Well, I think the outsider says it best.
Your friends poisoned you and dumped your body in the river. Did they do it to protect themselves, so no one would ever know what they'd done? Or was it because they were a single move away from controlling an empire, and they knew you'd never let them manipulate Emily? Maybe none of these. Perhaps that's just the nature of man.
When we wake up, we are being held captive by the assassins that killed the queen at the beginning of the game. They are led by a man called Daud, and they also have the powers of the outsider because he recognizes the mark on our hand. After we escape from their cell, we find Daud and we have a fight with him. We wound him and we have a choice. Let him go or kill him. This is up to you to decide, but I let him go because I did really believe him when he said that all this killing ruined him and that he wants out. He also says that the outsider played a part in this, but Daud got his own DLC later. After this, we make our way to the Hound's Pit, but on the way there, we end up in the quarantined neighborhood because of the plague. And we can really see how deadly this plague is because there are trains that constantly bring dead bodies and throw them in mass graves. When we get to the Hound's Pit, we see that it's storming with soldiers, and here we can help multiple characters including Kalista, Piero, and Sokolov escape. Piero and Sokolov actually invented a device that will knock out or kill every soldier in the area. It has two options depending on the playthrough you are doing. We also learned that Havelock, Martin, and Pendleton, alongside Emily, made their way to a fortress located on an island. We reunite with Samuel, who takes us there, and we sneak through the base until we reach the man that betrayed us. Pendleton and Martin kill themselves, and Havelock is just accepting his fate that we are coming for him. We kill him and we save Emily. After this, the game ends, and the outsider shares a look in the future based on the playstyle you had. If you kept it low chaos, Emily's rule will be a peaceful and prosperous one, but if you went full John Wick mode, her rule will be imbued in turmoil and unrest. Dishonored was an amazing experience. Everything from the combat to the story, world, characters was great. Yes, of course, it wasn't perfect in the sense that the missions follow almost the same template, and some elements of the story were predictable, including the big plot twist, but nonetheless, it is worth playing. If you watched so far, thank you, maybe consider subscribing, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.